Well, a sigh of relief for investors after President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed to at least resume trade talks when they met at the G20 summit in Japan over the weekend. Now, the president discussed the meeting with Fox News' Tucker Carlson in an exclusive interview, which airs in full tonight. Watch.
You just recently, hours ago, met with the Chinese President, Xi Jinping.
I did.
Are you closer, do you think, after that meeting to a trade deal?
I think so. We had a very good meeting. He wants to make a deal. I want to make a deal. Very big deal. Probably, I guess you'd say, the largest deal ever made of any kind, not only trade. We got along very well. We understand each other.
Riley Walters, a policy analyst for Asia, economy, and technology at the Heritage Foundation. Riley, good morning.
Good morning.
The two leaders had a good one-on-one at a face-to-face, and there's certainly optimism out there. But both gentlemen face pressure at home, and I think the pressure is different. Chinese President Xi Jinping is facing some Communist Party leaders who don't want him to give anything to the United States, and President Trump is also getting pushback from some in his own party, like Marco Rubio. What do you make of what we saw over the weekend?
Well, I think the truce that we have, that we saw over the last weekend is good. It's good progress. Certainly the last thing we want to see is an increase in tariffs, and now I think we can start working toward actually removing the tariffs that have been in place to this date. And so, potentially we could have a deal by the end of the year, I think. I'm an optimist on this, but certainly both sides are seeing pressure, actually both ways, I think, to get a deal and to not get a deal.
Yeah, well, also, too, our own Edward Lawrence ran into Secretary Ross at the airport as he was departing South Korea, and actually Mr. Ross said, look, nothing is on the books. I'm optimistic, but there's nothing on the books. I mean, all of this has to be lower level discussions. That's where things fell apart before. How likely are we to make advances on the lower side, the lower level side?
Certainly, we could see, in a week things fall back apart. I mean, that's the thing. That's the way things have been going over the last year, right? There's a lot of uncertainty in the progress of these negotiations. Again, though, I think the president, he wants a deal. He said himself, President Xi, he wants a deal. So I think eventually we will get there. The problem is how long it will actually take. And over the last weekend, we didn't really hear a lot of details about what was agreed. And so I think there's going to be a lot of pressure from Washington to find out what was in the details.
What do you make about Huawei becoming a bargaining chip in the trade talks? So we had thought that those two issues were going to be kept separate, but now it's all intertwined. Maybe that's not a surprise to you or other policy watchers out of Washington. But, Huawei has been called, and still is, I believe, a national security threat to this country. And now U.S. companies are going to be selling them equipment. Was this the right move?
Again, a lot of details need to be figured out. We need to find out what actually was agreed upon. The president, he has
U.S.
said
companies are going to be selling equipment to Huawei. I mean, it's, we're not going to be intaking their smartphones right now, but, this is an opening up of the relationships again.
Right. Well, the president said he's not going to really back down on our national security interests. So, again, finding out what the exact details are when it comes to Huawei and the trade deal, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure from Washington from this. But, yeah, certainly we don't want to see our national security concerns used as a bargaining chip for a trade deal.
Yeah, well, it's there now. Anyway, investors are loving it this morning. Futures are looking great. Riley, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.